Sorry. We have a gift for you, and Sister Jayanti will give it to you so that you are not missing out going one day early. Please take it from her.
As we move into silence, what would you offer as words of wisdom and support so that we can really use this time and experience and explore, maybe experiment in a way that allows us to take the most from it, and just because we know that silence can be a very powerful experience. So what would help us to maximize that? And what is it that you might want to help us understand that we want to be aware of? And, things can come up. And, how from your own experience, what could help us if we do have that happen?
Om Shanti. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Caro. The wisdom of this group has been very beautiful, and as many have said, the connection has been very quick. But also, it's clear that it's a group that's been very ready to accept spirituality. And some of you have already been on the journey for some time, some not so long, but yet everyone has been very open, so thank you for all of that. One practical suggestion, I think many of you are already experimenting with it, but especially from 11 to 6 today, the recommendation that you switch off your devices completely. Unless you're expecting something dramatic, then keep it on silent, but yet, if possible, then just for a few hours, if you want to let anyone know that that's what's happening, that's fine. But that information that's coming through is also creating noise in here. Because the silence is not just the question of not speaking, but more it's a silence in here. And so can I do whatever I can to protect that? You'll be given some handouts. And so, yes, please do read those. But beyond that, not really necessary to read other material. Because there's a lot that we carry inside that we can experiment with and process now, which we don't usually make time for. I'm curious, who's being exposed to a stretch of intentional silence for the first time? A few. Approach it with love, not fear. Why I say that is sometimes we're afraid of silence because there's so many things of sorrow that we carry that very often it's those things that come up. But there's been a lot of information shared over the last couple of days. And so take it as a time to experiment with those ideas. The idea of the soul, the idea of my thoughts, my feelings, the idea of the goodness within, the experiment of going beyond, connecting with the source, the concept of a dimension of light that is up above, that I can journey to with my consciousness. So it's not focusing on one word or one concept, but it's letting your mind move gently in a direction which is related to the other dimension rather than the physical dimension. I don't know whether you'll have a chance to be outside in nature or not, but one of two things can happen in nature. We get drawn into the unlimited, which is beautiful, and that reminds us of the unlimited space we have within us, and the unlimited space we can journey to beyond. But sometimes nature, the birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees, all of that can be so beautiful that it's a great distraction. But that's fine, let me appreciate and have gratitude, but then actually take the time to do what the intention is, to explore my own being and to explore the connection with the divine, and thirdly, my home. Here we all have different homes, but the home of all souls is that place of light. And so experiment in particular with these three concepts. And if you see your mind wandering to other things, it's okay. Just step back, observe, and then gently move the direction again to the focus for the afternoon. One of our seniors, whom we used to call Mother, she passed away many years ago, but I had the good fortune of meeting her a few times. She used to say, the mind is a little baby. The intellect is a newborn baby. And so it should be handled very gently and handled with cotton wool. And so take care of the mind and the intellect, the place that is the receptacle for wisdom and the place that allows the conscience to awaken. And that means that if I see my mind going off somewhere, not to get frustrated or worried or anything else, but just gently bring it back to the focus that you want to have. And the intellect is a place that holds my beliefs. And again, let me protect it, because my mind can be my best friend or, at the present time for many souls, their worst enemy. But I want to make it my best friend so that it supports me on my journey. And so let me talk to it gently and bring it back. And when I speak to it with love, then it supports me and it cooperates with me. And so let my mind flow in the awareness of who I am. And there's a big difference in thoughts related to the world out there and thoughts related to my own world within. When my thoughts are out there, I'm usually reactive. And they're very fast thoughts. And when I go on the inner journey and just simply begin to observe my thoughts, the speed of my thoughts slows down. And it slows down to the extent that here's a thought, and there's a space, and there's another thought. And the spaces in between those thoughts are the silence, in which I'm able to have a deeper experience of who I am. The thinking leads me there, so the thinking is important. It's not that I'm going to make my mind blank, which is actually very difficult to do, but it's a much easier task than trying to blank things out, just gently moving them in a specific way. But they move slowly, and there's space that can be longer and longer between the thoughts, which gives me time to experience. It's like when you're in a deep sleep, you don't say, I'm sleeping. When you come out of the sleep, then you say, that was a very sweet, deep sleep. So when I'm in that silence, I'm not thinking, but I'm feeling, I'm experiencing. I'm in that experience of peace, of love, of truth, of joy, And when I come out of it, that's when I say, that was good. And so let the mind be quiet, let the intellect be stable, knowing that I'm not this, I am this, and see how long you can hold that thought. I am the being of light. And hold it so quietly, so still, that you can begin to feel it. And you come to that experience of who I truly am. And hopefully also you get in touch with those innermost qualities that are there within you. And that is the reality. I am that being of peace, of truth, of love. I'd forgotten myself. This is a time now to remember who I truly am. And in this awareness, then the feeling of the presence of the divine is very natural. Let it be all very easy and natural. No anxiety. I don't have to go somewhere. I don't have to do anything. Letting go. And yes, there's a possibility that there will be memories of sorrow that come up. But talk to yourself. Be your own mother. And gently move away from that feeling of sorrow. And maybe even ask, well, what did I learn from that? What was the outcome of that? Maybe it's an illness I've been through. Maybe it's a bereavement I've been through. Maybe, many things. But always things have happened that at that time were difficult. But a few months later, maybe a few years later, I could see that that led me to the next chapter in my life. It opened up another door that allowed me to have an understanding and an experience that was not so expected, and it was a much better door that I walked through. So see what were the lessons learned, what was the outcome that was a better place to be in. But don't stay in that memory and revise it and emerge it again and again. It comes, and I ask myself, what did I learn? And I move on. Sometimes, you know how we do the commentary. You've been hearing these meditation commentaries over the last couple of days. Do a little commentary for yourself. I am that being of peace. And believe it, because it's there. The ripples of peacelessness are on the surface, but deep below, in the depths of the ocean within, there is that peace. So come to that sacred space that is within you and feel that. When you meet each other on the grounds or in the corridors, in the dining room, don't ignore each other. Look at each other. Exchange that vision of soul consciousness. See the other as that shining light. And yes, you can smile at each other, you can acknowledge each other, you can share a moment of that pure respect and connectedness. And when it's time for feeding the body, drinking something, again, a moment of gratefulness. Thank you. Thank you to the divine. Thank you to Mother Earth that has provided us with everything. So eat and drink in that awareness of not just God and Earth, but also the family that has made it happen, that has done the work to provide me with whatever it is. So that sense of gratitude and gratefulness. And probably you'll enjoy the taste more than you usually do. Sometimes we get so engrossed in conversation, which is beautiful. It's a wonderful connection and a buzz. But also that moment of gratitude is very beautiful. And gratitude to the One Above for everything, for bringing us together, for giving me the space and opportunity, for the sacred space that I have, nature and everything that's been provided by nature. Gratitude is a wonderful experience, and so let that experience of God's love be filled with that thankfulness and gratitude. It removes a lot of the hurt that we carry, the bitterness or the anger. When I'm grateful and I'm thankful, there's no space for anything negative. There's a very good feeling. So experience that gratitude and be thankful. So let the heart be filled with the joy of what has been received and experience that pure love. Maybe even experiment with loving yourself. That's not selfish. When I learn to love myself, I can learn to love my neighbors. We were told in the commandments, love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. Well, how come we don't love our neighbors? We haven't started here. And so to love myself and to be able to love my neighbors. And so let each moment be beautiful. And when it's not just the memories of sorrow, but maybe other things come up, the things that you know have to be cleansed, but at the moment I'm still carrying those. Again, the mother. Be the mother to yourself and be gentle and compassionate to yourself. But if perchance you really do need to talk about it, then seek one of the guides and they'll be able to support you. So don't feel shy about that. There'll also be different activities that you can join in if you wish to. If your choice is to be in that inner solitude. I'm not here to teach you the Hindi language, but I'm tempted to tell you one word. Ekant. Ek-ant. The depths of one. And it actually, literally translated, it means solitude. But it's referring to the inner solitude. And so I go into the depths of myself. I go to the depths of the One Above. And that inner solitude is very powerful and refreshing. It can heal. Silence can heal the soul. Silence can empower the soul. Silence can turn my perspective around 180 degrees. Silence can carry me into a space that is eternal, infinite. The term zero came about from the minds of those who could experience eternity. And so new ideas, new concepts can come from silence. So it's a very powerful mechanism that we've forgotten to use in our life. And it's a very beautiful one, an enjoyable one. Sometimes through the cleansing process, it can be a bit of turmoil, but we're dealing with a lot of things that we carry, and that's okay. It'll work out. Even if you're cleaning a little space, you scrub and you realize there's something else underneath. When we were doing this house's renovation, they told us, how many layers of paint are there? We want you to explore all the layers of paint so that we can tell you what fire retardant paint you can use, because old houses are prone to fires. And we discovered there were 15 layers of paint. And so that's something very physical, but just imagine cleaning. And so, yes, you wonder how much more is there. But it's okay. You'll get there. And so I know that it'll be a powerful experience, but I hope it'll also be an enjoyable experience. And if through this afternoon you need to take time off and rest, absolutely fine. Be friends with yourself and give yourself whatever it is, not just what the mind needs, but what the body needs also. So I'm sure that it'll be a transformative experience. The mind goes in many directions, but gently bring it back to the purpose, the exploration of the reality, the dimension that I haven't yet explored. Om Shanti.
Thank you. So what I hear in that is that even though we may want to keep ourselves open, there is an aim, which is really about exploring this new aspect or the subtle aspect of the self. And the other thing I'm hearing you say is if we meet layers, to have patience with ourselves, right? That seems to be another quality of the mother, is to have patience with the self. I think the other thing I'm hearing you say, and I don't know if there's anything more to say about, is try not to have expectations. I don't know if you want to say a little bit about that. Mm-hmm.
There's no outcome that I have to arrive at, and there's no time limit on this journey. I take it at my own pace. I don't have to think about something. I have to tick boxes. So just take it gently and see where it leads you.
You mentioned it briefly, but just when emotions come up, there might be tears, which is okay, or positive emotions. But is there anything else you want to say about how to deal with strong emotions?
Accept. I know that that's also part of me. And I know that I can draw power and develop my capacity to deal with these things in my life. And so it's just a little blip on the journey. And so not to be scared by it. It's come, I look at it, I face it, and I say, okay, with your help, I'm going to change this.
Thank you. Does anyone else questions?
Maybe one aspect that came up in reference to the subject of God. We use this word, the source, or the divine, or the supreme, because we've developed an allergy to the word God. Because we've been taught about a God who's there to punish us, God who we're afraid of. But rather than be afraid of God, can I love God and appreciate how much God has helped me already? So remove any fear in your heart in terms of the connection with God. And there's also this question of inside or outside, and religions play with both ideas. There's one who's up above, and then there's one who's inside. When I love somebody, then I feel them very, very close. They're in my heart, and this is the language we use. They're in my heart. But they're not physically in my heart, but the love is there in my heart. But the connection happens when I know exactly the location, that there is a dimension beyond, and I have to allow myself to move into that space of being beyond the physical world. My body is here, I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm very much here, but my consciousness goes on a journey beyond, and I can connect with the divine up above. And so I'm not just creating a connection is the first word, but beyond that, I'm actually creating a living relationship with a parent who is the loving mother, and the father who has a huge inheritance of happiness to give to me, a teacher who has total wisdom, a guide who's going to lead me to the world of liberation, and another world which is a world here, but a world in which all are liberated, and so a life of liberation, a friend who's always there to support me. And so play with these concepts. The language is human language, but the experience is beyond earthly connections and that awareness of the eternal relationship with the divine. So that also is an experience of healing, of transformation, of purification. So you can play with all these relationships with the divine also.
Maybe just one more thing on the connection to God. You say not human, and and still there is a relationship of friendship or a friend. How does that go together? Because sometimes there's also this high, big personality who's like an authority, and I cannot get close to. But then you say he can be a friend.
I was with the woman who is a Brahma Kumari, but she happens to be the President of India currently. So I was with her in the last few months several times. And when she was talking to a group of us, just 3 of us with her in her meditation room, we knew that she holds this high office, but she wasn't talking to us on that official level. She was talking to us as a friend, sharing with us the complexity of yoga and the balance of her life and high office. And so she was telling us, I want to develop my yoga further. And so she was talking to us like a friend. And then we went into her residential place, and her grandchildren were there. And so the same person, but a different role. And she became the warm, homely grandmother with them. And so yes, God is the almighty authority. But God gives us permission to come very, very close and become the mother, the father, the friend. There are things there are things I wouldn't tell my mother, but I would tell my best friend. And so God, my friend, I can share what's in my heart without any hesitation. I know that the response will be a very beautiful one, a supportive one.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else would like any sort of clarification you think could support all of us as we go into silence?
What exactly is the cleaning of the heart as in terms of activity, or?
sitting quietly in this warm atmosphere of connectedness and respect and love. I go inside and allow myself to feel the inner being. I am a being of peace. I hold this thought of peace in my mind. And as I reflect on the subject of peace, I realize that peace begins with me. And peace, in reality, is my original, natural state of being. This is who I was, and as I search inside, I realize this is who I am. And this is how I want to be forever. Not only am I a being of peace, I am also a being of light. And my thoughts are drawn to the presence of the Divine, the Supreme, the Source. I connect with the Supreme and find myself surrounded by the ocean of peace, the source of light. And the light that radiates from the source is the light of love. And the feeling is of pure, unconditional love that seeks no return, but simply gives and gives and gives. I absorb this love within myself. This is the pure, sweet love of the Supreme Mother. And this pure love embraces the soul, accepting the soul as I am right now, without questions, without conditions, just total acceptance. This eternal bond of the soul with the divine is also the love of my Father. the Almighty Authority, the parent who wishes to give me an inheritance. This being who is the source of all positive attributes shares with me an inheritance of happiness. I open my heart and take this happiness from the divine. Happiness is nourishment. Happiness is strength. Happiness is empowerment. The vibrations of love and happiness not only fill the soul, but those vibrations reach out to each one here with me now. But they also reach out to the global family across the world. The power of love and the power of joy transforms human hearts and minds. And this love and joy and the light of the divine reach out to all forms of life. God's love, values each and every species. And all forms of life feel safety and protection. These vibrations reach out to the whole of nature and all the elements of this planet. The earth, the sky, the water, the fire, ether. And as these vibrations of light, of love, of joy reach the entire planet, we begin to move into a dance with nature, a dance of harmony, of gratitude, of appreciation, of respect. and nature is cleansed. And nature returns to its perfect state of balance once more. Holding this awareness of the connection and relationship with the divine, and a world in perfect harmony, my thoughts return to the physical dimension. But now I hold this experience in my heart. And even as I move into walking, reading, writing, I'll stay in this awareness and remember to be an instrument so that through this divine connection, the qualities of the ocean can work through me and reach many others. I hold this inner silence.